Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast, Postgame show. I'm your host, Giancarlo. I'm very sad, Giancarlo Navas. With me today, intern Pablo's back. He's in an undisclosed location in Washington, D.C.
What's up, guys?
Undisclosed in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, he looks like he's in some sort of weird...
At least we know he's not hungry.
I mean, are we sure, though?
This man leads the league in snacks for 15-year-olds. To my right, we got the reality check master, Tiffany Meeks.
Hey, I'm missing Tracy Chapman for this. So
Yes, same.
Are the Grammys? I guess the Grammys are on today, right?
Correct.
They are.
Correct.
So we'll get out of here quick so we can all catch the Grammys. Bottom left, Saucy Takes, Coach Lou.
How's it going, everybody?
You know, this morning I got up early. I went to the gym. Then I watched my Liverpool Reds play the most important game of their season.
Our Liverpool
Reds, and they laid a fucking egg against Arsenal at Emirates, and then the Heat did this. So I'm not doing so great, Bob. I'm not doing so great, Lou. Finally, last but certainly not least, the great my goat, Siobhan.
Hello, people. How are thou?
We're hanging in there.
I'm sorry. Lou looks like a young wrestler in training, like one that you would expect to be racist, but it's not at
all. Right. Like he walk out in all white, but all of a sudden his tag team partner is Junkyard Dog.
You know, like he's holding the family accountable, but
it
looks like he wants to slip up every now.
Accountable is wild.
Lou look like he look around when he listen to rap music when it come up.
Won't get
Lou
a
looks like that guy that they look for old tweets and they find one that he probably.
Oh yeah, that's
definitely
my sole job. That's what I do. My business. That's what I run.
That's when you've reached peak like personality when people are just like searching your with words you shouldn't have said.
Please leave me alone about it. The last 3 days have been ridiculous. Men are ridiculous.
Fuck these people. We're gonna talk about basketball today. The Miami Heat fall to the Clippers in. Listen, my gut reaction to today is the Heat don't have enough, and the reason, and that might be obvious to a lot of people. Hear me out.
No, go ahead.
They played. I don't think they played bad. They played hard. They got pretty good looks. I think a lot of the game. A little too much Jay Rich for my taste, but ultimately I kind of understood their process against a team that is clearly better than them. And I don't really know what they could have done to not get this outcome because James Harden just absolutely punked them. And Kawhi Leonard is absolute at this point. He's playing at a level. Paul George didn't even play well. And I thought Miami's game plan defensively was pretty solid. I mean, they practically held the Clippers out. Did they hold the Clippers under 100?
I think they 103 around there. I think
whatever. That was all fouls and free throws and stuff. Like in reality, like the defense has found some life. They were going from zone to man to this to front, all this, everything. They threw the kitchen sink. They played with urgency, which is something that we have all been critical of since the start of the season. And yet, the Clippers were more physical than them. They kicked their ass on both ends of the floor. And I don't know how you can leave this game thinking anything other than like there is an ocean between Miami and the best teams in the league. And again, Jimmy lost his matchup, bro. And he's been trying lately. So I know that everybody's making fun of me like you're stating the obvious. Today felt a little different because they played, I think, with the kind of effort that you expect like a good team to play with in a big moment on national TV, trying to stack wins together and at home, you know what I mean? And the rain died down, so they at least had a semblance of a crowd. Because if you're not from in town, Miami had a really awful rain event today. There were tornadoes and shit all over. It was pretty bad.
Right next to my house.
Oh, did you get one?
No, I was driving down the street, and then I had to go pick up a dress for my girl somewhere at an undisclosed location. And then as I was coming back, I was like, damn, what is this bus sign doing in the middle of Coral Way? I was like,
Coral Way is the funniest street for it to be.
And then I'm like, what the fuck is and then I see like two full on tree branches in the middle of the stream. Like some shit went down right here.
Lewis, like, what month is it?
Yeah, I was on that.
I was like, I'll be damned. What's happening in Coral Way?
But yeah, I mean, Bon, I'll let you start. Like, that's where I left tonight, and I'm curious to hear what you think, because I think you have been one of the most real people about this team from the start. So, do you agree with how I feel?
I do, and I've felt. Oh, it's weird because I felt this way mostly from the jump, but I'm also someone who's like been pretty, loud on record with how I felt about what we did try to do off-season acquisition wise. But also with that, like what I did think what is here, I guess, could do. But even with that, still have admitted and always believed that we still needed more. And I think you see it, like you said, they were out physical. The Clippers have great size, like great positional size at every important position in all of the positions. It's not tight. It's not just, Zubac being large. James, big ass barrel chested. Kawhi got the shoulders and the traps of a god and like the hands of a behemoth. Like they just are strong all around. And given the strength and their sizes or whatever, they're able to do and to make the lives of some of our key people uncomfortable. Like me and Tiff were talking, and you have like Paul George down there battling Bam, but like giving him,
like seriously,
like really defending him, like giving him a good a good go of it. And so, I come away feeling the same that you did. I genuinely don't think that they played poorly. I'm still not a proponent of some of the, and we didn't even we weren't doubling every possession. It was a lot of kind of opportunistic, back turned, sneak up on them type of doubles. But if they're not completely closed, this is the type of team with the type of firepower who can get out of it and hurt you once out of it. I think Jaime hasn't been who he was pre-injury, and we can probably get into that a little bit later. But it's odd, how much that they miss that and that they need that. So, I genuinely believe that, like you said, they need more, even kind of on what can be considered one of their maybe not best but better days.
Tiff, let's get a little tactical here. So Miami starts with, they play a lot of zone, Tiff, and it looked really successful, pretty similarly to the first matchup that they played against the Clippers. And like the first matchup,
that first matchup, I hated it. The corner.
No, but that's where I'm getting. That's where I'm getting at.
Okay.
Like early success, they had early success with the zone, and then the Clippers were. And I tweeted this out, in the first quarter. I go, it's looking good now. They're getting turnovers, but the test comes when the Clippers start swinging the ball to the corner, when Miami starts loading to the strong side of the ball, and then that swing to Powell. Tiff,
Norman Powell.
We just don't have. Sorry, G, go ahead.
So they do that. Go ahead.
Right. But we don't have, first of all, like I said, I feel like sometimes our IQ goes out the door. That's one. Two, we don't have good closing speed. So it does, we get frazzled. We don't have good closing speed. And then by the time you get out there, one, you're falling for that Harden leg kick out, which happened like 3 times. We just don't use...
But at some point, that's what I mean. Like they switched the zone up, right? So they were getting killed from the corners, but then they stopped, and then they were going more man, and that's when Harden absolutely cooked Highsmith and stuff. So it's like, what's this but that's what I want to ask you. Like, where's the solution?
It's not here.
Not on the team. Shit.
It's not here. And I'm not trying to be funny, but it's like, your best defenders are Highsmith, Jimmy, Bam, and then if Caleb is depending on how he feels.
He was awesome today.
He was great.
But those are your better defenders. That's a problem, because if you look at it this way, they're all banged up some kind of way. They all don't have the foot speed they had last year or the year before that. Like there are certain things that happen to the body year after year. We're not good enough. And that's okay because this is the team that they brought out. So I'm not saying anything that nobody can't see. Like, we played better in this game than we did in the last game. The defense looked better. The offense looked better to some extent, and then nothing happened. But it's kind of like you can't keep going Jimmy or bust. This is. Go ahead.
I like the defense today. Like I'm citing that problem.
Better.
Yeah. I thought it looked good. I mean, they had that problem, and I thought that and that's kind of what I wanted to get to is like they have this problem and they go away from it, and they were finding solutions. I mean, and at the end of the day, like there is no like Harden killed them. Again, they kind of held them under 100 points. Like they did. Superstars and players of that caliber are gonna have those moments. Miami just didn't have their guys do that on offense, but I think genuinely, like tactically, like they adjusted well. I thought Caleb was awesome on Harden. I thought he was the only guy who was worth a damn. And I don't know. I at least, and that's what makes the loss tiff so like to me, because I thought that they looked good on that. I thought they looked like good, and they were like an ocean away.
Right, before you go to somebody else, and I think I said this to you, it looked good, but the problem is you need a guy to add to that. Yeah. And by a guy, I mean like you need a guy. Who's a guy who steps out on the floor and Kawhi goes, shit.
Oh, shit.
If I'm matching up on Jimmy, you have to stay tight to this guy. Like that, you need another guy that no. We gotta be like at some point you have to be honest and look at the landscape of the league and look at the teams that are clearly in contention. They have guys, they have dudes. Yeah, you need Duncan Robinson, but you need him for a particular type of thing. You need a dude who busts in the door and everybody on the other team goes, fuck, he healthy? Like, that's what you need. You don't have that. So when they start loading up on Jimmy and they start throwing the bigger bodies and the traps and all those things, and when we swing the ball, we don't have a guy. We got teammates who can make things happen. Nobody's fearing any of our guys.
They're not.
Well said.
They're not. I mean, and it's part of the physicality. It's part of a lot of things that are kind of like symptomatic of them this season. Lou, let's go a little bit to their offense, because that's really been what's been ailing them for the last 4 years. Tonight, a lot of
I think he's in like the last like few games or whatever, the last 4 years.
Really, the only time their offense has been good in this build was when Duncan had the best non-Steph shooting season ever.
And even with that, all we were doing was
like
spamming DHO.
And they were 10th. Yep. And they were 10th. Right. And they had 4 other guys shooting 40%. I believe Olynyk, Hero, Redacted, and some other.
He doesn't count.
And Gogi were all shooting 40% from 3 that season. So what a ride. Oh, and Tyler. They were really good.
Tyler.
Yeah,
you said Tyler.
Yeah. So Lou, so tonight, a lot of Josh. Like, I think the Clippers did a really good job of kind of helping off the right guys, and I thought Josh played well. I thought Rozier played okay until the Clippers kind of matched up a little bigger on him. What did you see on offense? That I mean, there's just so much. And I don't want to be a revolving door about like how their offense stinks, but for sure it's frustrating.
I actually. So today, it's interesting because I hear all the concerns, and it's something we've known since last year. Like, let's keep it honest. Like, the team isn't good enough. We need Jimmy to be Jimmy. Okay, we get that. But I thought today they played. I enjoyed most of the process. I'm not going to say everything was perfect, but I do feel like today was them missing a couple of shots as well. I like the intention that they've been playing with recently offensively a little bit. Like, it's a little more consistent. It's not to say it's good, guys. Like, look at, like, to Tiff's point, like, look who we have. Look around the league. It's just not good enough. I agree. But considering what we have, I thought Rozier in the first quarter specifically did a very good job of just making tough shots. And Kawhi Leonard was on the other side today playing like it was 2013. 2024 defensively, at least, and he was a menace for us. against us. So it was just tough to get shots off. But I didn't think they played bad today offensively. I think Jaime missed some bunnies. Jaime hasn't seen a 3 go. I think he saw a 3 go in today, but he's been a little hesitant.
In the lead.
Yeah, it's just, the offense isn't really today in particular. I felt like it was a make, I think today was a make or miss game, and the other team made more tough shots than we did. Like, let's keep it honest. Like, we shot bad, and there's at least 4 plays in my mind where the Los Angeles Clippers got a shot off with 2 or 3 seconds or 1 second on the shot clock, and it was double teamed or contested step back threes, and they went in. None of our shit went in. That's what I'm saying.
Miami was 8. I agree. They were 8 for 30 from 3 today.
Yeah, 27%. Yeah. And Kawhi shot a double team 3 from like 30 feet out. It went in. Harden did it 2 times. Paul George did it. Norman Powell did it. Like, it's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of our shots, like the talent that we do have, wasn't hitting it today. Rozier was 0 for 5. I thought Richardson didn't play that bad. But
I thought Josh played great.
Yeah. I thought he played good today. It
was just too much. I mean, he was too afraid from 3, but I thought
who do we have that's not him at this moment?
He wasn't shooting contested. He was shooting open.
He was shooting open shots, and he missed. And I'm okay if a guy is taking what the defense gives them, and he's like,
Yeah, it's just considering the team that I have. The team that we have, like, this just isn't, it is what it is. I felt good with the way they played on both ends today. I thought they tried hard. They played good. I wish Bam would just be a little more fucking aggressive sometimes and more intelligent. It's not even the aggressive part. It's the IQ part that's been bothering me, because I don't know what's gotten into him lately, where he sees 7-footers on him and he's trying to post these guys up. Bam, first of all, they're 7 feet. Second of all, they're European. 2 things not going well for you. Like, they're strong as shit. Like, let's keep it a band. Like, he's not moving none of these guys, but he's yet still trying to post them up, pivot. Everybody knows what's his go-to move. Like, bring him out, space it out, and use your quickness to your advantage. Once you post him up, you completely negate your quickness, and it's shooting you and the offense in the foot. So it's just
to what Lou's saying. Keep saying. G, I put a picture in the group chat. Pull it up really quick, please. Lou, keep saying what you're saying.
There's a handbook to stop Bam. There's like a handbook.
Yeah, the handbook is let him shoot.
And so Jimmy was doing Jimmy things. Like, Jimmy was feeling a particular level of like activity, and then come second half, and like Terrence Mann and people are damn near face guarding Jimmy. That if you bring the picture up, there's a play where it's Terrence Mann is damn near face guarding Jimmy. Oh, that's so annoying. It's a broken link. Terrence Mann is damn near face guarding Jimmy. James Harden is playing Josh Richardson kind of like zoned up, not really on him. Kawhi is off in the corner with Haywood, and PG is out here guarding Terry Rozier, and Ivica Zubac is just a golf away from Bam, who's just chilling at the kind of top of the key. And until Terry was able to shake free of Paul George, it felt like the Clippers were cool, just kind of sitting in this Bam, daring Bam to do something. And until Terry right here at the top of the right wing shook free to get something. But even that, it was a handoff. Paul George fought really, really hard over it. And so while Zubac is in this drop, Terry couldn't even get a clean shot off because Paul George was on his hit from behind. As soon as Terry would have gone up, Paul would have hit it from behind. And so it's like, when we were talking about them offensively and this kind of like lack of dynamicism and people who feel like they are, kind of to be worried about, people feel like they can just hit their man, like be, steady on who they have. And I'm sitting 19 feet off of you. What are we going to do? I'm cool with living with this until y'all pull me out of it. And even when you pull me out of it, I don't really know that I believe it. Do it again. Let me kind of, see you do it again. And like back a little bit to the defensive point, I'm looking at some of the clips that I pulled, and there were like pieces in the zone that I still have issue with kind of how we're moving. We're letting like the center go up unescorted, screening the top of the zone. And so it's pulling the wing help, trying to dig a little bit. But then James got that lob over Kevin Love to Terrence Mann because Kevin is just splitting, these two really, really far out people. I don't know. I
mean, but that's an issue of like, if the zone is breached, that's going to get given up, right? So the idea behind it is like, that cannot get breached, because if they do, that cut is going to always be there.
Right.
And then they changed it when Bam came in. They had Bam come, like, bring the screen with him a little bit. It wasn't to the level, but like enough to kind of stymie the forward dribble. But I'm sorry, offensively, back to what everyone's saying.
Well, to your point about like the stuff, I mean, that's a time where they do miss Robinson, because what you need is kind of a guy, and who's going to threaten the drop, because Rozier has not been a good.
He hasn't been a shooter.
He's not.
He can't shoot right now.
Zubac, and we can go back to it as the example. Like, that's deep. So if PG fights well, you got to make sure. And even if you get a step, I mean, Jimmy's in the paint. Like, Harden can stunt in, like, everything that you said. So the way that you beat that is, movement shooting, which Tyler and Duncan both provide. And Duncan moves very hard off those handoffs very quickly and very tightly. There was another play where something similar happened, Bond, and it was Josh. And Josh ran really tough, and Kawhi jumped the gap between the screen and Josh. And I have never seen anybody do that faster. I had to rewind it because
robotic,
bro. So you're like, a TV runs at like X frames per second. It like skipped the fucking, like, he teleported.
It's crazy.
It was fucking crazy. And I was like, what?
And they say he's washed. And then
his screen navigation for somebody that big
insane,
is it's fucking stupid. Like, Kawhi can play 10 more years just being a defender. Like, his offense doesn't even need to do nothing, because but he's also, and again, this is we harp a lot on Jimmy. This was probably one of the toughest matchups he's going to get all year.
Yes.
Like, having to deal with the gauntlet of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, that's not an easy gauntlet. They switch. You got a smaller guy, and it's Terrence Mann, who's still a very physical and capable defender. Yep. That's not easy. Make fun about Harden's defense. Harden has been one of the best post defenders in the NBA since 2016.
Quick hands.
And where does Jimmy like to be? In the fucking post.
Right.
So and you saw there was several times where, like, Jimmy opted to get Kawhi off of him and get Harden on a switch, and he posted him up, and that's like
nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing, so they at the end of one of the quarters, I don't remember which one, they get Kawhi in the action because Rozier's handling the ball. Kawhi's on Jimmy, and Jimmy wants them to switch that, and then so that Rozier can flip the ball to him, and they get Kawhi at the 3-point line, and Jimmy doesn't have to deal with his help. The issue is that now Kawhi switches on to now that ball handler has to make the pass. And I just thought it was so funny how this team on purpose brought Kawhi into an action with a guy who is not Chris Paul with the ball. So
it's correct. It's got to be correct.
I mean, I like I said, I understand the thinking
behind
funny.
it.
And it's Miami lives off of Pablo. Miami lives off of finding small guys, in these kind of games, and finding a switch and fucking mauling them. And to Jimmy's defense, in the Eastern Conference, Boston's filled with those guys. New York has those guys. Philly has those guys. The Clippers don't got those guys. Like Lou said, it's fucking Terrence Mann. And listen, Jimmy got some of his on Terrence Mann and stuff like that. But like, Luke Kennard ain't walking through that door. You know what I mean? Like, there's no Westbrook is the guy that he picked on a lot, and Russ.
And he did.
And let me tell you something. They just said, fine, we don't got to play Russ that much. And Russ didn't play a lot. And that's just, where do you go? You know what I mean?
You know what that's called talent right there. They have a team. They got high IQ players.
They got
figured it out.
It was
they got shot creation from the 3-point line.
Right. They got a squad.
2 of our best players can't create a shot.
They come in as Norman Powell
beyond the 3-point line.
Is Norman Powell like their? Now he probably best offensive player.
I told my dad as soon as I saw the first quarter, I was like, Norman Powell's gonna kill us today,
bro.
Because that's what he does every time, like just instant offense. And off the bench, if Hyman is not providing that, we don't got nobody doing that.
Pablo,
sorry, G.
What you got on Miami's kind of offensive process and like that they couldn't hunt, they couldn't do anything, and it kind of discombobulated Jimmy a bit.
That second half adjustment by Tyronn Lue was just like, it was the most simple thing, but it worked priceless because they just made it for that. The Heat had to win without Jimmy being the guy. They took Jimmy out the game. They didn't
what?
By just singling him out. It was like, let everyone else score. Don't let Jimmy get in a 1v1. Don't let Jimmy get into the post. That's why Josh Richardson shot a lot of shots in that second half. It was anyone else but Jimmy. And the process just looked like normal Miami Heat basketball. Like it looked like us for the past 5 years. Like, scored 96 points. Like it's just like you're gonna hold the opposing team to like under 110. You're gonna play great defense. Like, the defense was pretty good in my opinion today, but you're not gonna score 100. And this just feels like regular Miami basketball to me. Like, I thought we could have won today, and this would have been our signature win by the way the game was going.
I knew they weren't going to
win. And then that second half started, and I just saw that Jimmy wasn't producing. Jimmy didn't really produce until like midway through the fourth quarter.
Tiff, what you got?
And
I got a question for you guys, because the defense was pretty good today. How are you going to keep this level of defense and bring Tyler and Duncan back into the fold?
You're not.
Don't ask that question.
Don't ask questions. You know the answer to Tiff.
Tiff, is that a rhetorical question, Tiff?
That's not even what I thought you were gonna ask.
Oh, that I'm not gonna lie. As soon as she said, "I got a question,"
I almost had
with this defense. I was like, I know where it's going.
You need this defense.
Yes,
but when
like, you can't beat anyone without this defense. Like,
and Tiff, even with it, like
with it, it's a struggle.
They lack the bite. Like, they don't have that. Like, that Kyle and PJ gave you, right? That like, fuck you. You know what I mean?
Gabe
there's no dog.
Gabe as well.
You got no dog.
Those guys,
no dog in
like,
exactly. But
we got Trevor Ariza and Mo Harkless.
Tiff, when Max was your worst defender on the floor, you weren't doing too bad.
Ask Cleveland.
You know what I mean? Like,
They don't got the dog in them.
The three on the right feel a little vindicated.
Right. I'm sorry, guys.
We are the strongest soldiers.
But seriously, how do you maintain this level, and then you need to still ratchet it up a notch, right? So the defense was pretty good, but coming back from All-Star, you still got to ratchet it up, or you're not going anywhere. So how are you going to do that? Bring those guys back in, because truth be told, how many schemes and scams can you run to try to win? Like, go ahead, Bon.
So to the schemes and scams part, it's about like moving the pieces within the schemes and scams to kind of like help it be like, I don't want Tyler in any of the top positions of the zones. I would rather Tyler be one of my bottom two forwards who I need you to be quick. I need you to cover this wing, and I need you to sprint back down here.
Also rebound
to the corner and to rebound.
Like how they did with Duncan. That's exactly what they did with Duncan.
Yes. And Duncan was good. Duncan was cool in the bottom or as one of the bottom fours because he was like preemptive. Duncan pays attention. Like Duncan does his work kind of beforehand. But even to that, because now you have Tyler chasing down to the corner man, and Norman Powell beat fucking Jimmy from the right corner off 2 dribble drives. And if that's happening to Jimmy, you're probably going to get similar results, to your point, to even with Tyler. So, yeah, I don't know how much, hiding you can do.
Right. Can we bring this comment up by Kenshi0739?
Oh, shit.
G, that's you. Go ahead. Answer that.
That's really like...
Kenshi says the difference is Duncan and Tyler can out-offense or bad defense. Without them, they can't score enough.
No,
I mean they don't look so good with those guys in here, and I think ultimately like this is not and I think sometimes, and I've been guilty of it too because I've really like pinned this on Tyler a lot, but it kind of dawned on me today that the call is coming from inside the house, and these issues are not fixed by Rozier. They're not fixed by getting rid of Lowry. They're not fixed by getting rid of Tyler. They're not fixed by starting Duncan.
It's a fit issue.
No, it starts at the top, and today is the day that it like really became very apparent to me that the problem is Jimmy and Bam. And all these other guys are playing worse because of them. Because when Jimmy plays like Michael Jordan, everything looks fine because everything works. But when he doesn't play like Michael Jordan, none of it works and none of it makes sense.
The flaws are
should
shown.
you expect him to keep playing like Michael
No.
Jordan?
And the only season it worked, the only 2 seasons, well, really, it didn't work in 2020 because if I don't know if you guys remember, before the lockdown, they were getting their ass kicked by their Hornets at home, and they looked like ass. That defense sucked. They were not doing great.
Typical
and they got lucky.
It's what happens in January and February. Like that's what happens every year, guys. Like we run out of steam because we have
March, dog.
We have it was you know what I'm saying, but like what I'm saying is we deal with 77 injuries. Everybody gets overplayed. By the time we get to this point, these guys are like they're like SpongeBob. Water, I need it, but it's rest.
Lou,
like they need rest.
These guys, there are 14 playable guys on the team. It's not like they have, it's not like they're like some of these other teams that like the 14th, 15th guy. You're just like, can this dude play in the NBA? Miami's not like that, huh?
Thomas Bryant,
okay,
Orlando Robinson.
Orlando can play.
Orlando
can play.
Right.
Like these guys, like Orlando, and I mean, I would maybe Drew Smith. I wasn't sure that was there yet, but
he needed time.
For the most part, every other year, I mean, like Gabe Vincent was their fucking 15th man one year, and Max was the 14th guy. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, like they're good. You know what I mean? And like, so it's not even like they have more depth than most teams in the sense of they have like guys that you can play and that are like competent NBA players. Right. But what I'm saying is that at the very top.
Yes.
Like Jimmy and Bam are not like these A1 offensive players in 82 games. And I think today you saw it's like Jimmy's solution to stuff is like, I'm just going to bulldoze this guy. And that wasn't available for him today.
And Bam's solution is
I'm going to wait for a handoff. And there was a play, Lou, just speaking of your like kind of complaints about Bam, he gets like the ball, in the mid block. They overhelp. He turns and spins and goes. Help comes. He goes up early. He like plants the pivot foot early for some reason and had to jump. And he's like below the rim as he's trying to lay the ball in. The ball's super short. And I was like, there's no that was a score. You fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's happened a lot lately.
That's just like that is the story of their team. It's Jimmy. Yep. It's there was one possession where Jimmy has the ball and he's sizing up a dude for fucking 15 seconds because I counted. Josh makes a 3 at the end of the shot clock to bail them out. And I'm like, what?
NBA offense right there, baby.
What's going on here? Like, what are we?
Did that play with Jimmy? Did it start like on the right side and it ended up in Josh in the corner on the left side? Because it's Jimmy called the Bam screen. Jimmy's not going to use the screen. Jimmy called the Bam screen to reject it, thinking he's going to get Paul and Kawhi to converge on him for the double. He can get it to Bam, and they didn't. So you created no advantage.
They didn't fall for it. They didn't fall for the banana in the tailpipe.
I got a like, man, this statistically, I know earlier in the year, it still feels the same way. Jimmy Bam pick and roll is awful. It is by far the worst pick and roll. It was the worst 2 minutes. It's not even that.
It's probably the worst high volume pick and roll.
It is actually. It was at least in like December, but it's not even that Jimmy doesn't have a wiggle. It's that they're not shooters.
They're not scary.
They're not threatening the drop. It's like, all right, if Jimmy doesn't deal well with length once he gets to the rim, so all right. Bam doesn't deal well with length either when he gets to the rim, so you just drop the big and
they did that. And then they ran Lou. The one time Tiff. The one time I liked it, they ran a horn set, and Bam was the screener on the right, and I think Josh was the screener on the left. Jimmy goes to the Bam side, gets a switch, then Bam rescreens at like the elbow, and Jimmy gets downhill. He gets Plumlee, and he like bullies him and gets the basket. They gotta run multiple things. This is not a group that you're just like. This is not Dwayne Wade where you're just like,
give him the
Dwayne,
ball, figure it out.
Right.
You take a screener and you go wherever you want. They're not like that.
It's like
not. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Pablo.
I was just gonna say it's just like how Tiff said. It's just they don't like at the end of the day they don't have that guy who's gonna carry them on offense. Like they don't have let's say like a Shy. They don't have an Ant. They don't have a super talented, gifted offensive player that's going to get you a bucket at every time. And they're trying to make Tyler Hero that guy, and it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jimmy can't be that guy no more because he's getting older. Maybe he can do it on spurts, but until they get someone that's going to be that offensive main piece that is going to be there every time, consistent, the offenses probably won't look better.
Bingo.
No, I'm reading all the comments, but like none of them fit. Like Tyler doesn't fit, Jimmy doesn't fit, Bam doesn't fit. None of them fit. Like it's not people pointing out Tyler saying it's just Tyler because everybody's saying, oh, no, it's everybody. It's all of them. It's been 5 years. No one is acquiesced to this is what I'm good at. Let me do this to help the team. This is what I'm good at. Let me do this to help the team. It's a combination of all those things. And then it's like you got 99-year-old Kevin Love who's having to hold this team together with glue.
That like, one pass. You know the one.
Oh, the one pass to Jimmy?
Oh. Yeah. It was the Jaime.
The Jaime. Yeah.
The Jaime.
But he had one.
That Kawhi almost got.
But I don't know how Jimmy got it, but but there's just problems. And you know what's funny? Because we complain about this all the time. It's been problematic every single time. And then for some reason, they've been finding a way to figure it out in the playoffs. So, you know what? I'm going to be real honest. Tyler ain't been there. Bam and Jimmy can figure it out. They've done it before. They can do it again. But you can't, at some point, your luck does run out in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They got 9 lives, and we don't know which one they're on.
I think the best way to put it is to Tiff's point. Like Jimmy, I don't know if Jimmy and Bam don't fit offensively. I agree. Defensively, we know they fit, but that's the problem. Half of your build is on one end of the floor. The other half is on the other end of the floor. And it's what I've been saying for years. It's not that I'm a proponent of trading Tyler. It's not about, I don't give a shit about that. I'm a proponent of getting an identity.
I want to win, damn it.
It's not
even that. If Tyler is what gets you that identity, then so be it. Whoever it is, it doesn't matter as long as it's obviously not Jimmy and Bam, because we know their identity should be defense. Like, let's keep it honest, guys. Like, we're not going to come out here and score 120 every game and beat people. Our identity is to beat people like this with 103 points. Like, that's probably too damn much if we had somebody else.
That's not sustainable anymore. And Zach Lowe talked about this on the Low Post this week.
Man,
it's like,
have you seen OG in the Knicks?
You gotta be a good offense.
But OG and the Knicks have size. They have positional size at every floor. And the Miami shit is finish what you were saying about Lowe first.
No, that was it. That you just says that, you cannot, like, nowadays, like, all these teams that are contending, the Lakers were really the last team that won a title that their offense wasn't very good and their defense was great. Like, nowadays you really need a really great offense, and you can survive with an okay defense. I think Denver is a really nice recent example. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. But
did you just move? Like, did you just
my camera's glitching out. I changed the camera.
What is going on? Where are the snacks?
I'm like, are you in a whole?
What happened?
I changed the camera, bro.
Are we getting pranked?
You know what's interesting? Shaq said something like that on the TNT show like a little while ago. In the defense wins championships. Shaq was like, be good offensively, and you can be so enough defensively. And someone like me, that is a tough pill. Like, that's a tough piece of reality that kind of just is what it is. But and to the point about, like, kind of everything's fit. When you had Nikias on the pod, Nikias said, and like we've all been saying, Miami is probably, all of Miami's top people are probably a peg too high, like a notch too high. And my thing kind of with the Jimmy thing is, if it's not going to be someone who is like head and shoulders, not even head and shoulders, if it's not going to be someone who is like clearly more dynamic offensively than Jimmy, then it at least has to be a legitimate 1B as Jimmy is. If he's not going to have someone who's like clearly kind of better than him, the second person has to be at least at his level, so that they can kind of play off of each other in a way that doesn't drain the two of them. And like, you know, kind of Miami doesn't have that. And I feel like the postseason, the reason that we have postseason success, and I could be wrong, but I feel like teams go smaller. Like teams get smaller kind of towards the postseason. And like we've been able to, with our small group, our small big group or whatever, like hold those groups down. In the grand scheme of the regular season, when there's like length everywhere, when all of these things kind of are what they are, we don't have like real length, not under the basket, not on the wings. And so all of the shit that we do well, that we have to exert, again, all of this energy to do, by the time midway through the third rolls around, we're zapped. And then the fourth quarter comes, and then hopefully we have like some adrenaline to kind of run off of. But we just play such a taxing brand of ball because of talent and size deficiencies, and it's been that way for 4 years.
They really make a lot happen with a mismatch. And I think that considering how this team came together, you know, remember they weren't, you know, the way that this happened was Dwayne leaves and the identity of the organization fell apart, and they go 30-11 and they sign these guys to 4-year deals, and now they're stuck with them and Hassan. And the way they got Jimmy, they were capped out. They traded Hassan for Harkless and Redacted to split the Hassan deal because they needed to get under the hard cap to get Jimmy because they had no cap space, right? And then they traded Harkless with a pick to the Clippers. By the way, the Clippers started Harkless. I'll never forget that the Heat gave them a pick and a starter. I'm still mad at that. And they got Jimmy. And that's how the build started. They built through the draft. They built through the bargain bin of undrafted players that they can afford. And they were capped out. And they never really got to not be capped out. So the way that they built this team was imperfect from the start. They maneuvered their way into contending out of what at the time Zach Lowe called the most bleak situation in the NBA. So I want to give, while kind of scolding the organization for their mistakes in 2017, you know, they made wine out of water, and Spo is also making wine out of water every year because this group does not fit, and they have not been able to do the things that they have to do to get the right guys to make it work. And I think the 1 year that they did, and I know that I'm probably going to get annoying by saying this, the team in 22 was the best team that they've had, and ironically, it didn't make the finals. Everybody got hurt. PJ was perfect. That was the last great PJ year. He was perfect. Kyle, that was Kyle's last great Kyle year. Max was coming on the scene. Gabe was coming on the scene. Tyler was in the perfect role, and it was lightning in a bottle because that's the one time that you could still have him in that perfect role before his ego and before like the situation got out of the control of the organization. The politics of the league. And that's not to sit on Tyler. Like, this is not what that's about, because he earned a starting spot because he played really well. And this is not to do that. But they made it work that year, and everybody got hurt. And then since then, they have been reeling. And last year was a miracle. And I think that wanting them to repeat that, I mean, it was a miracle. We sat here. They beat Milwaukee. We were stunned, bro. All of us. Us that have done 2-hour postgame shows. We started the show. We did it. They took the words out of our souls because we couldn't believe what we saw. It was like, it was out of legend. It was shit that we might never see again. And here we are again, waiting for that miracle that might never come as they lose to the Clippers on this wonderful Sunday. Thank you, guys.
One more. How do we get cap relief? How do we get back to a place where we have?
Wait, because they're not sending picks.
You're never going to get there.
Which, by the way,
unfortunately,
I agree with them not trading picks the way they're trading, because they draft so well, and I think they're like, wait a second, we draft really well. Why do we need to trade these picks when we could just get a guy?
But that also wasn't always the philosophy. It wasn't.
That's changed. And that changed post LeBron.
Bets.
That changed post LeBron because they were not this pre LeBron, and they have invested. And I think Ethan said it. They've invested in coaching and scouting because they understand that those are the most sustainable things to them. And the league is changing, and the way the cap is changing, and the way players move is changing. They don't change via free agency anymore.
Bingo.
They via trade, right? And that's how they acquired Jimmy. That's how they acquired Lowry. Both those guys they acquired over the cap. That's how guys get moved nowadays. So you need good young players under contract, and you need bloated contracts to move that are low impact, like Kyle, kind of like Duncan. Tyler's a little too high impact. So and also Bond, the league operates as an over the cap league now. All the teams that have cap space are bad. Why? Because bad teams want cap space to absorb salary
to get picks
for teams that don't want to pay luxury tax. But every good team operates as an over the cap team because it makes more sense. You keep your guys, you give exceptions, you trade. Now with the new second apron rules, there's a lot of new minutia about taking more salary than you give out. If you're past an apron, we don't have to get into that. But the league is in a different place. And I appreciate everybody for rocking with us for almost an hour here on a Sunday. I do have to go, so I'm cutting us off at 47 minutes. I love to my panel. I love you guys. Yeah, we're here. We'll see you next week. I will be doing pod tomorrow, I imagine. Chat says go Arsenal.
Hell no. Get out of here.
F you, baby.
Liverpool, boy.
Liverpool lifers, you will never walk alone. I am very sad, Josh Richardson. I love you as a person, hate you as a sports fan, and we'll see you next week.